Well, don't blink ever in the National Football League because the Denver Broncos hired someone in Jim Leonhard, Mace, that could be a future head coach. And I think this is not a good, not a very good. This is a great hire for the Broncos.
Tremendous hire. Jim Leonhard, arguably the best defensive coordinator in the college ranks over the last few years. The University of Wisconsin had the number one defense in all of college football back in 2021. Top five in total defense 4 times in 6 seasons as Wisconsin's defensive coordinator. And oh, by the way, that year that they led FBS in total defense, best yardage figure, total yardage on a per game basis for any FBS team in a decade. That's how good that Wisconsin defense was. So you've got somebody who clearly knows how to game plan, has a long NFL career. So it's not like this is a college coach stepping in and, oh, what do I do? No. He knows his way around. And he's a coach who's been in demand in the pro ranks. The Packers,
right,
looked into hiring him a few years ago, did not. He was a finalist for the defensive coordinator job that went to Jeff Hafley earlier this offseason. And he's had other opportunities to break into the NFL for a long time. Like what I was always told is, hey, he really likes the college ranks. He likes the college environment. He enjoyed being at Wisconsin. But then, of course, he wasn't retained by Luke Fickell when they made the coaching change after the 2022 season. Spent a year at Illinois working under former Wisconsin head coach Brett Bielema. But everything about Jim Leonhard, mostly, it was looking toward the pro ranks. I think we're going to see quite a few more coaches like Jimmy Leonhard making the leap to the NFL. Talented, but not wanting the I almost said the word, the BS that is existing in college football right now. It's making it very hard to build a program.
Yeah, hard to build a program, easy for the NFL to pluck some talented people. And Mace, isn't it as important to build your staff with future head coaches, which you and I both believe Jim Leonhard will be?
Hire the best people you can and then figure it out. And the advantage here is that one of Jim Leonhard's stops in his playing career was he spent offseason and preseason and training camp with the Saints in 2013. Did not make the roster, but he at least is going in knowing what Sean Payton is like, and Sean knows what Jim Leonhard is like. That's a huge thing as well, because working for Sean Payton isn't for everybody. The NFL is a high stress, high pressure environment. Working for Sean Payton takes that up a notch, right? So you got to be able to deal with it. Jimmy Leonhard can. And something very interesting, did you notice in his title, even though he is going to be the defensive backs coach replacing Christian Parker, who moved on to Philadelphia, pass game coordinator on the defensive side. So he has a coordinator title. That's significant. That tells you, the esteem the Broncos hold him in. And I have to ask you this, Cecil. Does this put some pressure on Vance Joseph going into 2024?
You bet you bet your ass it does. Like, sorry. I hate to go there on a Saturday, but it's like, no, that's 1,000% what it does, because this guy's on a fast track to be a defense coordinator, to be a head coach. And if you're Vance Joseph and you falter or you stumble, listen, I was upset Christian Parker moved on. That's a future head coach. But to replace him with Jim Leonhard, I don't know if you could find I don't know if you could find a better replacement.
This says a lot about Sean Payton's ability to attract talent as well. I mean, he's got a good staff. He had a good staff last year. It got a couple of notches better when Jim Leonhard walked in the building. Former Bronco player too. So even though it's 12 years ago, he knows the landscape. He's not stepping in entirely unfamiliar with what matters around here, what this team means to people. And like he I think will adapt very well to the pressure cooker environment that he's going to face here. But it certainly helps that he's got a talented secondary. Now, how many members of that talented secondary are still here for the season? We'll see. I think Pat Surtain's going to be around unless he's used as leverage to trade up in the draft. I think the question is, Justin Simmons, is he still there, or do the Broncos take a trade for him? As George Payton has said, they like having draft picks, and there's really only one way to get more draft picks out of this 2024 draft, and it's by trading player capital.
And much like an Alex Forsythe or even a Quinn Miners would develop under Zach Strief this year, it's going to be interesting to see Riley Moss. We got big Riley Moss conversations coming, because if he's not starting, that's going to look exceptionally bad based on what you gave up to get him. And of course, Jim Leonhard going to be a big part of why.
Mm-hmm. Riley Moss, and I'd say another guy who really could be helped by Jim Leonhard is the safety that barely played last year and only on special teams except for one snap, and that was Jarrett Stidham, who had second round talent and film going into the Senior Bowl last year. Was not a great Senior Bowl week for him. Then he gets injured in pre-draft prep, falls all the way to round 6. Broncos I still think they got good value on him. And remember, they valued him enough to keep him on the 53, even though he only got a jersey twice. So think about that. All the roster moves they made, what they did at the cut down, they played the long game with J.L. Skinner and Alex Forsythe. J.L. Skinner at least got a jersey twice. Alex Forsythe never got a jersey last year on the offensive line. But they kept them. Didn't want anyone plucking them off their roster. Tells you that they think something of them long term. I think someone like Jimmy Leonhard, who always played bigger than his size, like, you know, the first word that comes to mind when I think of Jim as a player, fearless. I mean, I think they listed him at 5'9", 5'8". I mean, you know, he was and probably maybe even a little shorter than 5'8", right?
Right. There's a little Bob Sanders to his game. I called him a fair catch specialist when in Denver.
Let's put it this way. I'm not really looking up at Jim Leonhard, like only slightly. You know, need more short dudes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you and I've been doing this long enough that like Clint Kubiak we saw at the Shrine game as a player coming out of CSU, and Jim Leonhard you and I both covered with the Broncos. And we're going to cover him again.
You mentioned the fair catch specialist. That was his thing. I didn't call him a punt returner in 2012. I called him the punt catcher. Trendon Holiday was the punt returner. When you were concerned about ball security, Jim Leonhard went out there to catch it. Although, if I recall correctly, didn't Jimmy put the ball on the ground once?
He might have done that, yeah, because it's like the one job. You got one job, and you didn't do that. With Trendon Holiday, it was always like, is he going to return it for a touchdown or fumble it? It seemed like it was either one or t'other. But with Jim Leonhard, you got that safe feeling with him back there returning punts. And also, as a safety, my one word for him would be tough. He was just tough. Put his nose in there.
Tough. Fearless, by the way, one fumble in 2012, so there you go.
Okay. There it is. That's right.
Like you said, you had one job. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah.
Right. So Jim Leonhard on staff, and the other hire that's now officially official, and we've known this for a while, but Pete Carmichael from New Orleans to Denver. A lot of people wondering what this means for Joe Lombardi.
I don't think it changes much for Joe Lombardi. I think the interesting thing here, you bring in Pete Carmichael Jr. He was offensive coordinator for the Saints for 15 years, which meant for the 13 of those years with Sean Payton, he wasn't calling plays, right? Sean Payton was calling the plays. Where I think it's interesting is, you know, obviously Pete Carmichael's experiences with the quarterback, the passing game. When you have an extra set of eyes, so now you have Joe Lombardi, you have Pete Carmichael Jr., you have Davis Webb, the quarterback coach, still around, and of course you have Sean Payton. That's a lot of bandwidth in there, a lot of knowledge and a lot of bandwidth, which tells me that if you draft a developmental young quarterback, there is somebody there who can make that player their specialty, basically. And so that's what hit me on this. Like, okay, maybe you're talking about J.J. McCarthy in the first round. Maybe you're talking about Michael Pratt in round 2 or Spencer Rattler in round 3. Coming in with a Sam Darnold, who we talked about a couple of days ago.
Right.
Now you've got a lot of coaching juice in there that can focus on that, because Sean Payton, even though he's a quarterback passing game guy, he's still guiding the whole team. He's only got but so much time. But now you've got an offensive coordinator who doesn't call plays, and Joe Lombardi, Sean Payton does. And you've got Pete Carmichael Jr., and you've got Davis Webb, your quarterback coach. There's a lot of resources. And basically, if one of your projects is developing a young quarterback, you can probably tell Lombardi or Carmichael or Davis Webb, that young dude, that rookie, that's your job, right? It's another resource there. To me, that's how I interpret the Pete Carmichael Jr. hiring.
Yeah, it's almost you get your own personal chef, not in a Russell Wilson type of way, but just in a cooking in your career type of way. This guy's going to be in your back pocket and listen to everything he says.
Right. And this means nothing is going to get lost, because what you're trying to do is you're going to try to walk down the street and chew gum at the same time. You're going to try to walk down the street. If it's a bridge quarterback to a young quarterback, you're going to try to walk down the street with that bridge quarterback and maximize what you're doing right now, trying to win right now, right? All the while, on this other path, you're developing the young guy.
Right.
Whoever that young guy is that you bring in. That's one of the reasons why I like this, because now you have the bandwidth among coaches to be able to get this right. And also, tip of the cap to the Penners, Greg Penner, Kerry Walton Penner, because this is one of those spare no expense types of moves, right? Do you need Pete Carmichael Jr. on your staff? No, like if you've got enough coaches to be just fine. But if you want to have an extra set of eyes, and especially someone to be able to tell one of those coaches, okay, focus on a young quarterback's development and everything else will take care of the rest. Now you can do that. That's the reason why I love this hire.
Yep. And for me, it tips their hand. I know that Sean Payton wants to say he could work it out with Russell Wilson or whatever, and he doesn't know the numbers of the rookies or whatever. But this hiring, to me, tips the hand that they're moving up for a quarterback and they're getting a significant passer. Carmichael could work with Pratt or Rattler or whoever.
Or McCarthy at 12. I think that's...
He might be working with McCarthy at 12.
And I'd say this, or you may even have to trade a little bit to get to J.J. McCarthy.
10.
Maybe have to trade to 10, 9, somewhere around there. But what do we keep saying about J.J. McCarthy? The skills are there, but he needs time. And ideally, if you draft J.J. McCarthy, he is not seeing the field as a rookie until you're out of it. Right. Ideally, that is the case. You're able to play the long game with him. And you can literally have a coach who's focused on the practice field development of that quarterback, focused on helping him, saying, okay, like we're gonna watch this film together. We've done our group film study. Now you and I, we're gonna sit down and watch this film together. We're gonna focus on this. We're gonna get you in the VR system. We're gonna figure out what you can see, get you all this work, get this individualized attention. And in my opinion, if you draft a young quarterback now, you're giving him a great chance of success because you have the intellectual resources in there to get him onto a high level. I love this.
Yeah, I love it as well. I love both hires for this Broncos team. And again, hat tip to Walton Penner, because they didn't need to do this, but they did because they want to win. They want to win quicker.
And also say this for Pete Carmichael Jr., the dude that he worked with an awful lot, even going back to San Diego when he was a quality control coach and offensive assistant. I mean, he goes back with Drew Brees way back, right? All the way to 2002.
Yep.
And, the Drew Brees connection kind of helped him come to New Orleans in 2006. And it helps have that kind of resource. But also another thing, if you're trying to find someone who can is it fair to say Sean Payton's looking for another Drew Brees? Maybe he's not looking for the exact same, but he says he wants to fall in love. Okay. Like he's looking for the second chance at romance. He had that first chance with Drew Brees, 15 magical years of quarterback coach wedded bliss. Right. And now, to cite the name of an old Neil Simon play, he's looking for chapter 2.
That's right. We'll see if they can get it.
Who's his Marsha Mason? We're fixing to find out.
It's Drake May. They asked me on the drive a few days ago. Zach was like, "Tell us about Drake May," and I was like, "I don't want to say Drew Brees because he's not, but." If you took a person that can say on time and on rhythm, which is exactly what Drew Brees says Sean Payton wants, that quarterback is Drake May.
Mm-hmm. He's the most ready to go of these quarterbacks. Sam Darnold has tools. The question is, can he be accurate enough to be on rhythm, right? That's the one thing. Again, he likes to go deep. So the completion percentage maybe isn't what you want. J.J. McCarthy, I think, certainly has accuracy. I'll tell you one thing. There was a number I saw this week about his accuracy when he scrambles, and it's extremely high. His completion percentage when he scrambles. And that's and even though it's all about rhythm and timing, you like having that element too. But if he can be that accurate when he scrambles, he's going to probably have a good chance, especially because he has adequate height and intermediate range to be able to be accurate when he's in the pocket too. And that'll grow into a part of his game. But yeah, Drake May is the central casting Sean Payton quarterback. Just this.
We'll see if they can make it happen.
Yeah, I doubt it. Wouldn't get your hopes up. But you never know. Look, the falling in love part of this, that's
the easy part.
Well, but it's not just the meetings that they've been having at Broncos headquarters diving into these quarterbacks. It's actually getting to meet them at the combine here in a little bit. At the end of the month, you're going to start end of the month, early March. You're going to be sitting down with these quarterbacks. And who's to say that you're not going to get Drake May at the board and it might not be, hearts aflutter, right? Might be something like that. Sometimes when you know, you know.
Yep. That is 1,000% correct, my friend. It's Orange and Blue today. We're here on YouTube. We're growing our YouTube channel. We appreciate you for your help. And roughly about 60% of you who are watching are not subscribed. So please do the YouTube things, Mace.
Hit that like, comment, share, subscribe. I got ahead of myself. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss a vid, not even on a weekend, a holiday weekend, by the way. But when is the NFL just going to say, let's have the Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, by the way?
Right.
I mean, we're just about there, right?
What are we doing?
have it on President's Day weekend. It's on the Sunday. A lot of people are off on that Monday. Then it becomes a true holiday weekend bacchanalia type of thing, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah. What are we waiting for? Just make the Super Bowl President's Day weekend and be done with it.
And then you have the day off after the Super Bowl, which a lot of people need.
There's only one problem with that. It's only 1 week to the combine. You talk about a quick turnaround. Our off season, as it were, keeps shrinking down like that. Because I was thinking about this. Used to be, the Super Bowl was, for a long time it was late January, right?
Yeah.
Then moved to early February in the early mid 2000s. And then now we're talking about it being mid-February. We're going to have have we had a Valentine's Day Super Bowl yet?
I don't believe so, but we might someday if it times up that way. So we shall see.
Yes. Because let's see, it was on February 13th was Super Bowl 46. Okay. Super Bowl, or 56, pardon me. 57 was on the 12th.
We're going backwards.
And then before that, when it was Super Bowl 55, that was on the 7th because, of course, it was the last 16-game schedule. So that means, okay, so this year the Super Bowl was on the 11th, of course, right?
Yeah. So we're still a couple years away.
Next year, so then...
Because it was a leap year this year, so... Right,
that's why we're skipping from the 11th to the 9th for next year in New Orleans. The year after that will be on the 8th. And so we're looking at the 2026 season, January or February 2027, when the Super Bowl, which I believe will be Super Bowl 61, falls on Valentine's Day.
There you go.
That would actually be a President's Day weekend Super Bowl, I believe, too.
Okay. There you go. We make it happen. That's what we do.
But based on the calendar, that's when the Super Bowl is going to be. That means also conference championships on the 31st, divisional on the 24th. Wow. Season's ending on the 10th that year.
Yeah.
January 10th. Remember when playing into January used to be a big deal? Now everybody does it.
Right. Now all teams
do
it.
Some years you do it twice.
The ever-changing landscape. of the National Football League. He's Andrew
And
Mason.
We are here to guide you through it.
We're here the whole entire way. You follow Mace on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey and saying OBT is BFD. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned. And would you please